Hi, welcome. This is Dr. Nigel Brayer with another Roots and Revelations in Chronic Disease Conversations. Today, I wanted to talk about urinary incontinence, bladder leakage in men. I've been seeing a lot of patients in my practice the last couple months, and a lot of fellows have come to me and said, "Hey, doc, I don't really like talking about this, but I'm going to share. Hey, I'm having trouble holding my bladder." Now, most of us, when we think about bladder issues, we think of women. Of course, when it comes to women, we've got children, we've got childbirth, we have different anatomy, we have hormones. But what's really interesting when it applies to men is bladder issues are very common, and they're actually not talked about even more than with women. Now, isn't that strange? Because women don't talk about it either. And that's why I developed the ironclad bladder system and why we've had amazing success naturally to regain bladder control. But something unique and different about men is obviously men's anatomy is different. And as you know, as you age, the prostate gland will influence the urinary flow and the bladder function. So let's go a little bit into anatomy here. I won't go too deep, so bear with me. Is when it comes to anatomy, we have our kidneys, you have your ureters, which are two tubes coming out of the kidneys, and they both empty out into the bladder. Now, that's the same for all individuals, all human beings. Now, when it comes to the male bladder, of course, the urethra is longer. In a woman, the urethra is shorter. Women have kind of one valve that's two, but it's actually one. And there can be a lot of issues related to that valve. When it comes to men, they have two distinctive valves, one at the neck of the bladder, one at the outer end of the urethra. So there's distinctive. Now, when it comes to the valves themselves, their function is pretty solid and very functional. However, just like women are being affected by hormones and being affected by physiology, meaning how the parts work, men do also. But what's different about a man is their urethra travels through essentially a walnut sized gland called the prostate gland. And what the prostate gland does is it empties what's called seminal fluid, which is a fluid that carries sperm on ejaculation into the urethra, so that during ejaculation, that fluid is the medium of which the sperm can swim at the goal of egg implantation. What happens with age, time, inflammation, lifestyle is it affects the prostate. Now, what we think about mostly when it comes to men's health and prostate is the prostate gland as it swells. So I want you to think about a walnut that's going around a tube. And as that walnut starts to increase in size, it compresses the tube. So with men, it has a lot to do with that walnut essentially compressing the urethra and preventing proper urine flow. So men usually don't have so much of incontinence as it's related to the prostate gland. They have an inability to get the urine to flow. So bladder retention is a really common issue with prostate-based issues. Or what happens is since they can't fully void or get rid of the urine in the bladder because of the prostate, there's essentially urine within the urethra. And after a person's done going to the bathroom, that essentially leaks out. So again, back to men, is men can have prostate-related incontinence, but they can also have urge and stress-related incontinence, both of which kind of have a different approach with managing it. But what I want all of you to get with today is men's issues are a little bit different than women. The fix or the resolution is very, very similar. So by changing the function of the pelvic floor, by improving the function of the bladder, by reducing aggravation to what's called the endothelial lining. The endothelial lining is like the lining around tissues, blood vessels, bladder, urethra, tubes, etc. So when we talk about how do we address men's health as it relates to incontinence, the ability to hold your bladder, or the ability to go to the bathroom properly without restriction from the prostate, it really goes threefold. We've got to first address the physical components. The second thing we got to do is we have to look into the nutritional, chemical, hormonal components that'll influence the linings and the function. And then third, we also have to address the mental and emotional components, most importantly, the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you'd like to learn more, go to my website, drnigelbrayer.com, and we're going to be opening a whole new branch of online training to help with men's health, men's prostate health, and men's bladder function. So look forward to having you join us. We will talk to you soon.